Hey, welcome World Entertainment and Ghostbusters Night Shift, the new Netflix animated series. We've been given our first official look at it. And no, we're not talking about the new logo that's here that they've put out a few weeks ago. Actual images, which gives us a look at the tone, but we also now have some details as to the setting of the show and what it's meant to be about. And then there's also an update regarding the setting as well. So the images, there's only two of them, but you will see them throughout this, and while you're seeing them, I like them. You know, they're very unique. It's an interesting animation style they're going with, but while you're having a look at them, I'll talk about what the setting stuff is and everything like that. So Netflix and Sony Pictures Animation pulled the sheet off Ghostbusters Night Shift at the Annecy Animated Film Festival on Wednesday, dropping the first key art for the 2027 series and a slightly clearer picture of what the next official Ghostbusters project actually is. Here's the part the press release won't underline for you. It's a cartoon, which should be pretty obvious when it's been debuted at the Annecy Animation Film Festival. So, okay. So after Ghostbusters Frozen Empire underwhelmed in theaters and the long-rumored live-action future quietly evaporated, the franchise's next chapter is an all-ages animated show streaming on Netflix, not a movie. The series is set in New York City in 1994, roughly 5 years on from the events of Ghostbusters 2. The setup hands the proton packs to a group of young, untrained New Yorkers who were conveniently partly to blame for the fresh wave of supernatural chaos hitting the city. Now, the 94 setting, we have an update from Gil Kenan about that. So, if that kids inherit the ghost catching business framing sounds familiar, it should. It's the same nostalgia forward next generation hook Jason Reitman and Gil Kenan built Afterlife and Frozen Empire around, now ported to animation. The two first look images sell the tone better than the logline does. One is a golden hour shot of the new crew walking down a Tribeca street trailing proton mist, the Ecto-1 parked at the curb and a dog bounding alongside. Pure Afterlife grade sunset cinematography. What I find hilarious about how they describe the first image is they get one thing very much wrong. Which, it's like, when you're staring at the picture, like, what are they talking about? And you realise, oh no, you mistaked one thing for something else. And it's like, that's unfortunate. The thing they've mistaken is the car. It's not the Ecto-1. I think they're talking about a New York taxi cab. There's no Ecto-1 in the whole thing. So, again, I think that is hilarious. They're like, Ecto-1. It's like, okay. So the other drops the team into a flaming demon-infested train station for the obligatory, as it says here, this got scary fast beat. So visually it looks good. Flying Bark, the Australian studio behind the rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series and Stranger Things Tales from '85, is handling the animation, and it shows. So I've never watched either of those two, so I'm assuming their animation style is similar to this. So on paper, the pedigree is strong. Reitman and Kenan executive produce alongside franchise co-creator Dan Aykroyd, with Ben Heben and Elliot Kaline running the show as showrunners, and Amy Karp also producing. So Reitman, son of original Ghostbusters director Ivan Reitman and a multiple Oscar nominee for Juno and Up in the Air, keeps the family steering the ship. Kenan, an Oscar nominee for the animated Monster House, knows his way around horror comedy aimed at younger viewers. The title itself was revealed back on Ghostbusters Day, which was June 6th. Wednesday's ANSI showcase was the first time anyone outside the building saw frames. So none of that changes the math though. This is the third straight Ghostbusters project built on looking backward, and it lands as a streaming series specifically because the theatrical engine stalled out. Frozen Empire didn't give Sony a reason to greenlight another live action entry, so the brand has retreated to where retreating franchises go, a 2027 animated show aimed at families, riding 40 years of goodwill and the real Ghostbusters nostalgia. That's not a knock on the art is the best thing here. It's just worth being clear-eyed that the franchise is thriving and the franchise is making a kids cartoon because the movie stopped working are the same sentence. For now, 2027 is a long way off, not really, and there's no voice cast, no trailer and no episode count, just a title, a setting and two very pretty frames. So that's all the information from that end of things, but then we get an update from Guile Keenan himself as to why it's set in 1994. So this is the update for that part, where it says more Ghostbusters Night Shift news continues to emerge from the ANSI International Animated Film Festival, with the series' creative team offering added insight into why the upcoming animated series is set in 1994 and how it will fill what they described as a lost chapter in the franchise's story. So speaking with Polygon during ANSI, executive producer Guile Keenan explained that one of the biggest creative questions surrounding the series centered on what happened in the years following Ghostbusters 2. While Ghostbusters Afterlife briefly established that the original team eventually went their separate ways, Keenan felt there was far more story waiting to be told, describing the unexplored era as a lost part of the legend of ghostbusting. So what he said specifically was, "We became very curious about the mystery of the 90s and ghostbusting. We set it up a little bit in Afterlife when Ray gives a little context about where everyone is and that they've gone their separate ways. But it felt like there was not just a big story to tell, but a lost part of the legend of ghostbusting." So they've basically said, we kind of want to go back and explore what happened in, especially by the looks of it, New York, when the Ghostbusters split up. Now, I don't know whether that will end up being a slight bit contradictory to what happens with Afterlife, because in Afterlife, as we see, the Ghostbusters didn't just leave and vanish, but all supernatural type of phenomenon seemed to have stopped in New York, at least in New York, because that's what they kind of set up. Because if you remember, they're like, the New York kind of forgot about the Ghostbusters essentially, but it's kind of like, how far do they go into that? So we'll have to wait and see. The art, like the style and stuff, it does look good, it looks interesting. It's just, will it be too kiddie kind of stuff? You know, will it be something we could all watch and it have that Ghostbusters feel, rather than it just being aimed specifically to kids and stuff? Don't know, only time will tell. But there you go, there's your first two images for it, which again look decent. We now have what the setting is. It's set in New York in 1994, and it's set to be what happened after Ghostbusters 2 and the main team kind of went their separate ways. So what do you think about the images, and what do you think about the overall details that we now have regarding this show? Let me know. And with that, I shall leave it there for this one. So do like and share and subscribe and hit that hype button and all that good stuff. Cheers, and I'll catch you in the next one.